Hey guys, I'm Jamie.
And I'm Lo, and welcome to another episode of Try Saying That Out Loud, a podcast where we talk in painful detail about, and I quote, white girl shit.
It's our lives and our truths, uncensored and unscripted.
Sorry, kiddos.
I'm liking the new intro. I'm into it.
Yeah, although I feel like I can maybe not do that and I quote. Although
you can just say quote, right?
Yeah, I guess I could do it. Or do
detail about quote white girl shit.
Yeah, I don't know. We'll fucking figure it out.
Yeah,
no one gives.
But
I
like it. I'm into it.
No one gives an actual fuck.
What up?
Oh, you know nothing. I'm just serving for anyone who watches the YouTube, which I think is maybe one person. Oh, 6 is generous.
This is really generous.
This is post-COVID vaccine chic that I'm serving you. I told you I 101.6 fever yesterday.
Oh, I thought it was 100.6.
No, so 100, and then I was like, okay, I'm gonna go take a bath. Which, by the way, like I know you don't like baths, but like
I fucking hate them.
But like when you're a little chilled,
No,
I can't.
No,
like I felt so much better after a bath. Like literally.
No, that's like you're just sitting in your own filth. I'm out.
I cannot. Anyway, we will just
when you take a bath, do you shower after?
No.
Like you just sat in your own dirt water.
Do you know what? Okay, this country has an epidemic of cleanliness. And
to be fair, I shower once a week, so like that's not true. Like I'm not in that.
Right, but like the fact that you think that sitting in your own filth is any different than showering once a week.
You're so right.
Like, but people, here's what I was going to say. The epidemic of cleanliness is like, we need to be like hyper sanitizing everything. And actually that's fucking with our bodies. So anyway, I don't want to go on a rampage. But so anyway, so I took a bath. It was 100.1 and I was like, oh, okay. So I took a bath and I was like, I'm not going to take medicine, not because I'm like an anti-medicine person, but I believe that when you have a fever, your body's trying to do something. And I was like, okay, I want to like make sure the vaccine's as effective as possible.
Right.
So I'm just going to let it go. But if it gets to like 102, I was like, I doubt that's going to happen. But if it gets to like 102, I'll take some medicine. So I go upstairs and I take a bath and I feel worlds better. And then I like snuggle into my bed with some housewives and I was like reading a book. And then for school, and then I was like, okay, I'm going to try to sleep. For 3 hours, I just didn't sleep. 3 hours. I couldn't nap, even though I was like, my head felt like it weighed 12,000 pounds.
Were you like going to bed?
I was in bed. I was in bed. No, nap. This was at like.
Okay. That's what I meant. But you laid there for 3 hours and didn't sleep.
Laid for 3 hours and didn't sleep. And then woke up and was like, okay, maybe I'm a little hungry. I was like, that's a good sign. I bet you my fever's gone. And I take my temperature and it's 101.6.
Oh my God, I would have lost my shit. I did not get a fever. Oh yeah, heads up, we're both fully vaccinated.
Well, in 2 weeks. Do you understand how quickly I'm going to go get a fucking pedicure?
We both have both shots.
Which, okay, also, so here's the thing that Alex was like, you're wrong. Like, he loves to just, like, say I'm wrong about things, even though I'm not. I was like, no, I was reading, and then I heard on some news channel from some doctor that actually after the first one, your first vaccine, 2 weeks later, you're 80% effective.
That's correct.
And thank you, yep. And Alex didn't believe me, and then I had to fucking show him a doctor talking.
No, that's right.
So I didn't think it was that high. I mean, I
didn't either. But someone told me that afterwards, and I looked it up, and I was like,
2 weeks, I was like, I would have felt so much better after even the first one.
Right.
But anyway, I don't even remember what I was saying. But anyway, so then I took Advil, and then I was fine, and the fever never came back.
Oh, you were saying that in 2 weeks you're going to be fully vaccinated.
Oh, and how quick I'm going to get a facial and get my
pedicure,
my toenails.
Oh my God, I can't even fathom. I've gotten pedicures.
It's disgusting. It's honest.
I applaud you.
I've been like trimming them. I'm not like totally a monster, everyone, but I've been trimming them myself. But I can't even tell you, I haven't. So I would go get a facial every 4 to 6 weeks because I'm an asshole. But it's honestly like the best self-care thing I can ever do for myself. And I have not gone since February. Yeah, so it's been over
February 2020.
Uh-huh. I think it was February the last time I went.
That's wild. That's really wild.
Maybe even January.
I'm
honestly, it might be January.
I'm back in all of my things at this point. Yeah.
Well, so I'm like, how excited. I'm thrilled about it, but then I'm also like, am I going to do too much too soon? Like I was listening to that girl Kit from The Bachelor season. She posted on her Instagram story. She was like, so I've been doing the most. And she's like, but by the most, I mean, like I've gone to dinner twice. And she's like, and I am depleted.
Right.
She's like, I can't, like what? My social, I need to go away. And it's so fucking the most true. I'm like, oh
everyone
gosh,
is going to be like that, I think.
Right. Like, am I going to just do the most and be so extra and then just be like, I'm dying?
So, I mean, as you know, I was home this past weekend. I mean, by the time this comes out, it will be a couple of weeks, but I was home over Easter. It was the first time I'd seen my family in 18 months. Just COVID. My parents are older. I wanted to wait till they were vaccinated. The whole thing. And so I went back for a wedding. One of my best friends, I was standing up in her wedding. So the first thing, I mean, mind you, like I say the first thing, like I've gone to the grocery store. I've clearly gone to get like my nails done, but like I haven't eaten inside a restaurant. Like, there are things that I just haven't done. And I haven't eaten inside a restaurant since I was in Thailand in February of 2020.
Right. There's something about a restaurant. Sorry to interrupt you, but I think this is the connection I'm making about activities. If I can't wear a mask.
Right.
That freaks me out a little.
Right. Yes. I mean, I think that's what it is. Like grocery stores, they pretty much said are like you're so far away from people and they're so big that like, that's like really not where you're going to get it. So I went home for this wedding and the first restaurant that I went into, in all of COVID and ate inside was the rehearsal dinner for this wedding, which like, it was so fucking weird. I was so like, and like, no one was like making me feel unsafe, right? Like it wasn't a closed off room. It was like just in this restaurant and like the tables were all 6 people to like keep social distancing. It wasn't like, a table of 40 people. So like it was social distance. Like I was sitting there with my mask and like when I was eating, I wasn't. And when I was drinking, I wasn't. But like most people weren't because it's not a requirement and it's fucking annoying to just be like I get it. But I was like, okay. And then the same for the wedding day. Luckily, we got ready in this like it was at a country club, and we basically got ready in this boardroom that they like emptied out. It was like a giant room where they set up the hair and makeup. So I felt better that it wasn't like a tiny bridal suite with 25 people in it, but like still, I was in that room all day, and then the wedding was outside, which was nice. But still, and then I was at a fucking wedding with 70 people. So you just
drank, right, to like make yourself comfortable.
Correct.
You're like, so it's fine. I'm just gonna like lower my inhibitions with the liquid courage.
Correct.
It'll be fine. Yeah.
And like to be fair, the place that was hosting the wedding was like really trying to push the masks. Like they were having the band stop playing if people weren't wearing masks on the dance floor. Like,
oh, wow. Okay.
They were like they were not trying to get fined. You know what I mean? Yeah, but like when you're at 10 o'clock with people that have been drinking since noon, like you're putting masks on a toddler. Like it's not happening.
Right.
It's just not happening.
People are doing the chin strap.
Oh, yeah. I have multiple I mean, I don't have a single picture with me with a mask on, and I have multiple pictures of my friends wearing their masks. Yeah, like this. Basically. Right. I mean, it was great, but I got back to I stayed at my sister's house, and I got back, and I was like, fuck. Like, that being the first thing that I did post-COVID.
That's a lot.
It was a lot. I was like, all right, so.
A lot in one. Eating at a restaurant, like, I don't know, everything.
Eating at a restaurant, going to
multiple days in a row. Like, it wasn't like,
there was no break.
And then like have a break. It was just like, bam, bam, bam.
Yep. So that was, and then I was also obviously in an airport twice.
Right.
Which like actually wasn't as bad as I thought it was going to be.
No, I feel like I'm not as worried. Well, and I heard my friend just told me, which would make you feel better. Because I know Ben didn't go with you. So I would have been worried, like, am I going to bring something back to Ben? But there are new studies that say all the vaccines in circulation for at least 6 months prevent you from really spreading it too, apparently.
Oh, good.
So like, even if
he's also vaccinated at this point.
He's vaccinated, right? So you're not as worried. But that's what I would be like. I'm like, who am I going to bring this to?
I know. It was a lot.
But now are you like, I want to do all the things, or are you, I need a fucking break?
No, like not now I'm like, oh, I'm back home. So I'm like back in quarantine. Not like I need a break, but it was just like, so I'm back to like norm.
Status
and
quo,
it's like in 2 weeks, like that's not going to be the case. In 2 weeks, I'm going to be able to go wherever the fuck I want. Like pretty much with no worry.
I know. And that's so funny that you say that.
It's so weird.
Is Ben's office going back?
So they are not going to be required to go back until June because they like made a plan back in like fucking April of last year. They were like, okay, we're going to let the parents have like a full school year of like keeping the same plan. So like whatever it is. So they said, you're not going to be required to come back into the office until June. But when people start going in, he's going to go in. Like
that's, I think, when it's going to start to feel real. So Alex's office, they're basically like, let's just come back after Labor Day. Like, right, I mean, they're a really small firm. It's like, right, you know, so it doesn't really matter. But so they're going to come back after Labor Day. So like through the summer, but that's to your point. Like if you had come back and like Ben was going back to work, like maybe you would feel like, oh, right, the world is back. But like you're still kind of coexisting and working. Right. And yeah.
Well, yeah. And my computer is still set up. Like I'm still like doing a little bit of part-time stuff. Yeah. He's still, yeah. So it feels like exactly the same. Like,
I don't know what it is. I mean, part of me is like, I excuse myself of having continued paranoia by blaming it on variants. I'm like, oh, well, we don't know about the variant.
Well, that's a fucking thing.
It's like a thing, but
the British one is like more contagious and more deadly.
But so. I heard that so far they're feeling really good about the vaccines in circulation, like
against the variants.
Against the variants. Oh, I didn't read like a full, like this was only a couple days ago too. So I mean, like it's at least helping people not get really, really ill. Like you might get sick,
you're not going to the hospital.
Right. You're not going to not get ill because but that's also true of the flu vaccine. So
right.
Anyway, to your point about doing things, I'm kind of like, ooh, normal life. Like I'm thinking about making a nail appointment and getting a massage and a facial. But I was also talking to my best childhood friend and we were like, we need to take a girls trip because we have, so she has 2 other sisters and it's my sister and the 5 of us were kind of like sisters growing up. And she was like, we haven't done youngest sibling vacay together like ever. And I was like, yeah, you're right. Where are we going to go? So I'm like, meanwhile, I'm like planning. I'm like, do I go places? Right. But it's so weird. I'm like, let's just think about it because I know it's
right. Well, and like Ben was like, yeah, what are we going to do in 2 weeks when we're like fully vaccinated? I was like, I don't know, eat in a restaurant. Like like I was like, we're not going anywhere.
No, I'm like, Alex, we can go eat outside at a restaurant. Isn't that great? Like, and he's like, we could go inside. I'm like, well, okay.
Right. Okay. Well, we do have one thing that we thought about before we got on here, the Khloe Kardashian photo controversy. Bottom line, I think she looks fucking amazing in that non-filtered photo.
Okay. And people don't love my opinion on the Kardashians because here's the thing. And I've said this before. People just like to hate, right?
Oh, that's true.
They're like, oh, you're wealthy. You have all these things that I don't have. I hate you for that. And I think that's like a very unhealthy emotion. And I'm not saying that like there are not other people in the world that like deserve Khloe's level of fame for like whatever she does or doesn't do, right? Like I'm not, but there are things you can't deny. Kris Jenner knows how to fucking run a business. She knows how to she knows how to fucking traffic her children. Let's be real. Sorry if traffic is an offensive word, but she fucking knows how to do it. So like, and I would be terrible at that. So hello, to each their own. Like, I'm just going to say that. So,
yeah. I mean, that's pretty much, I just don't care. Right. Like,
right. Like, and Khloe actually happens to be my favorite Kardashian. I find her hysterical. I'm a watcher of the Kardashians. I have been for a very long time. And I actually think that I would be friends with her because I think she's fucking hilarious. I immediately put myself in Khloe's situation because she's always was kind of like the fat sister. She always was like not the the people were like, oh, is your dad OJ? Because you don't look like she's dealt with shit her whole life.
She's always been like
and she was not the reason why the Kardashian, like it's all Kim started this, right? And so she's kind of born into these circumstances, like the Jenner kids too, born into these circumstances where it's like, okay, like this is what my family does. You know, I'm going to be like as authentic as I can, but like at the same time, poor fucking Khloe constantly being ridiculed in the media, like being fat. And so of course, like, and here's the thing about social media. It's always a curated.
Always.
It's always the best side of your face. Like I have fucking lopsided, always the best side. Like people.
My photos are edited. Like, I mean, that's just. Yeah.
So if we as regular human beings can put an edited photo on Instagram and not be dragged through the mud, then like, why does it change that Khloe Kardashian is just trying to like mitigate the fucking hate she gets in the media. Because you know that she would post like that photo ordinarily and people would have attacked it. And so I felt for her. I was like, oh God, like, how do you balance this, like being authentic and real, which I think actually Khloe is probably one of the more real sisters, to be honest. Right. Besides, I feel like Kendall, but she's just
Kendall's my fave
in the media. But like, I feel like she's kind of the more like true to herself and honest of them. But like at the same time, it's like everyone has their traumas. Like she's traumatized by the media for most of her life because of her body. Of that.
Right.
So like, I just felt like it was a little.
Yeah. I mean, I feel like for me, it was like, oh, like she looks really, like I thought she looked really good in the photo. Like before
sorry to interrupt you. I also wasn't surprised by the photo. It's not like I look at photos of Khloe Kardashian that she posts and thinks that they're not edited.
Oh,
to remove a little cellulite. Photo. Or the unedited one, I like wasn't shocked by it. I was like, yeah, that's like I was like, that's what a human body looks like. I'm like, I'm not that dumb to be scrolling through her social media and think she has no cellulite.
Right. I mean, I guess there probably are some people. And I think, this is not against Khloe. Like I agree with your opinion in the sense that like she's been traumatized by this, right? Like she's like, holy fuck, like I can't have this out there because like what is the media going to say about me?
And like her mental health, yeah.
Right. So like I totally get that perspective. And I think the two things that are like worth noting are first is the disparity between the photoshopped photo and her photo. It's like, and if you remember that quote unquote scandal from like, I don't know, was it last year where it was like that picture of her face where like I didn't even know who she was.
Oh, and yeah, I kind of remember that. I forgot.
And like, you know, it was like clearly so photoshopped that some people were like, who is that? So it gets, and it's not for people like us, right? Like we obviously know that this is photoshopped and that's not what she looks like. If these people have like young teenage fans, like those kids don't necessarily know. And like some of them probably do, but like everyone is like looking at them being like, oh, like I wish I could like look like one looks like that.
That's true. It perpetuates this like that filtering yourself is okay for a young person who probably can't understand the nuance of like someone else, like the reason why someone's doing something.
Right. Right. So I mean, I see both sides, but for Khloe, it fucking sucks. And for people that are saying like, don't filter photos, like I filter my photos. Instagram started doing this thing that I really like. If you use any filter on Instagram, like I took a picture from an Instagram story, like I took a selfie and I used one of the face filters and I saved it. And then I later used it as an Instagram post, like in my feed. Mm-hmm. Underneath, it says like created with and like names the filter.
Oh, I didn't know that. That's great.
And it was even after I had saved it and had just been sitting in my photo. So like it somehow was able to recognize that I had used an Instagram filter. So it's obviously it doesn't work if you're using other apps, but like if you're using Instagram, it will tell your followers at the bottom like what it was filtered with, which I think is amazing. Like I'm not trying to hide the fact that I filter photos, but I'm not like writing in every photo, this is filtered. Like you should just assume my face is filtered pretty much.
Right.
Like,
I mean, like, duh, because it covers up like
so I think that is a really helpful thing. Like not that, you know, celebrities are going to start like, again, putting in the bottom of their photos, like this is filtered. But I think as someone with a platform as big as hers, she has a responsibility to like tell people or like, you know, this bikini photo of me, like, yeah, I did edit it. Like, this isn't really what I look like. If this shit is going to come out and she's going to have a regular photo of her taken, and then she's like, no, I don't want anyone to see that I really look like that. Like,
it's, yeah, no, and I hear what you're saying. It's a really fine line because I guess I just come back to, okay, well, like normal person on your social media where you curate what you look like, would you want that? Like, would it, like, if you curate your social media to give yourself, to bring something to your life, right? Like whatever,
it's for you, it's not for other people.
It's for you, it's not for other people. And yes, it is true that these celebrities like often now are like have social media for other people, but at the same, like they didn't, I mean, I don't know.
It's hard.
It's really hard because I'm just like, at what point, like, do we give celebrities a pass for just being a human being?
Well, I mean, if it's not like, I mean, this is a case where I think you just give them a pass for being not, it's not really affecting anyone. It's not doing anyone like actual
and like
harm.
and it depends on how severe the edits are. Yeah. And I once again, and we've talked about like celebrities and being treated like humans, even with like the, Harry Meghan thing. It's just like, at what point are we like acknowledging that celebrities are humans and stop hating on them just because of who they are? Like, it just feels like wildly. I guess I just I don't carry jealousy in my body. I find jealousy to be like the ugliest emotion. So I'm just kind of like, that's their life, this is mine. And like, given Khloe's circumstances, like, they're very blessed people, but like also on the other side of that, would I want that scrutiny? Probably not. Like, everyone deals with their own shit. So I guess I harbor like a very different relationship with celebrity culture. No.
But in that vein, like, I've just never had a relationship with a celebrity, like a parasocial relationship where I feel like I'm entitled to X, Y, and Z from a celebrity because they're a celebrity. Like, I've just never felt that. And there are so many people in the world that feel like that. And it's fucking weird. And like,
I think it's so weird too. I think it's so weird too.
I mean, it happens the same with like big bloggers too, like real, like actual big bloggers. Like, people expect things from them and like think that like, say they're going through a really bad breakup or a divorce. Like, obviously, if you're sharing your life with people, like, you're going to have to say something. You can't just like have a husband disappear. But like, you don't owe people an explanation for why you're getting divorced. Like, you don't need to go into those personal kinds of details just because your life is on social media.
I can't imagine it. Then you say that and it makes me think of Khloe and Tristan and like how, they're surely back together. And like, she's so worried in this season. She's so worried about getting backlash for like for like, okay, but like, how many people have gotten back together with their person that's cheated on them? Or like, so why is it any different for her? And they have a child together. So like, what?
That percentage has to be extremely high.
That judgment, I just like, it's like you hold them to a higher standard than you hold yourself. That's what I have an issue with.
Right.
And I agree. At a certain point, there are things that like you should be using your platform for good. But unless someone does something egregious and is clearly not using like that, whatever that Rachel Hollis bitch is, like that's an issue, right? That's a fucking issue.
I can't believe we weren't talking about that. We should talk about that.
I know. I like blacked out because I could barely follow. I'm just like, I know she's a twat and I just don't follow her. And so I couldn't. But like, so that's the difference, right? It's like, but unless someone's like personally doing harm to other people, then why are we like, hold yourself to the same standard you're holding these celebrities that you quote unquote idolize or like want to hate. So if you want to hate the celebrity for what they're doing, like, hold yourself to that exact same standard and let's see how that works out for you. But again, fine line, because like Rachel Hollis is an example of like.
I was out of town when this, Rachel Hollis thing happened. So I like wasn't page for page on it like I normally would be. But basically, if you didn't hear about it, it's Rachel Hollis is a woman who like has basically had her career based on the fact that she's like this go-getter, young boss babe. Like,
she wrote a book, right? Like, that's
multiple books.
Yeah, she was on like GMA. What was the most recent one? I only heard
Girl Stop Apologizing.
Yeah.
Oh no,
she has another. Wash Your Face or something, right? Girl too.
Girl Wash Your Face. Girl Stop Apologizing, and then there's a third one about her divorce. So, but she like really cornered the MLM market and like kind of like got all these women, like a lot of her things in her book were directed.
Mommy blogging?
No, multi-level marketing, like Rodan and Fields, all those like kinds of companies. And she like really got into that market where it was like, she was like, you can be your own boss. Like, she wasn't talking about MLMs, but she was like, you work hard, you make your
this is like
boss.
The K concept, like K, like back
Mary Kay, yeah,
Mary Kay, right? Okay, sorry, yeah.
I mean, there's a bunch of jewelry companies,
right? Yeah,
there's a ton of stuff,
yeah.
But so she like kind of got into that market and into the heads of those girls being like, you can be this boss babe, like we're all like just women trying to make it. And then she posted this TikTok that said, I was in a Instagram live and I mentioned that I'm quoting her, that I have a house cleaner that comes twice a week. She cleans the house. She cleans my toilets. That was a direct quote from her. And she said, and the girl that commented on it said, you're really privileged to have that ability. And she was like, you're right. I am really privileged. But you know what? I worked my ass off to get here. Not that many people are going to get up at 4 a.m. Not that many people are going to fail publicly to get to where I am. So like, yes, I'm privileged to have someone clean my toilets, but like I worked my ass off to get here. And the girl responded and said, well, that's not very relatable. And her response was, what makes you think that I wanted to be relatable? Everyone that I admire in the world is not relatable. And she goes to list in the caption, Oprah, Harriet Tubman, and like, I can't even, the post is gone, so I don't remember who she all named, but it was like multiple very prominent Black women that she idolized that were quote unquote not relatable. And I can't even explain what was going through my head when I saw this. Because number one, she built her entire brand on being relatable. That was the whole fucking thing. That was her brand. It's like, I'm just this girl.
Right, the irony of that. You're right.
Right. And the referring to your housekeeper as someone who cleans your toilets. Like, there's just so much to unpack with that. Like, are you fucking kidding?
It's just so, I mean, it's so disrespectful.
And then she's like, and not that many people are going to get up at 4 a.m. Says who? Like, there are people working 3 jobs that are like, you know what I mean? Like, there are single moms that are working so much harder than her. And yeah, so she apologized. She did like a written apology that was literally torn to shreds.
It was bad.
It was so bad. She basically just threw her team under the bus.
Yeah.
She said like, yeah, my team told me to wait on it, so I did. Like, fuck off. And then wrote another apology after that one was torn up.
I didn't see that one.
Yeah. It's better for sure. But it doesn't really matter at this point.
No,
right?
Everyone knows who she is. She showed her true colors in, like, here's the thing. Like, so at first I didn't see the video and I was just kind of like getting like a debrief of like what had happened. And like, I experienced this with some family members when I've been talking about privilege with family members, not like immediate family members, but
extended.
The idea that like, you're trying to imply that because I'm privileged, that means I didn't work hard to get where I am.
Oh my God.
Like, it takes away all of my hard work because
it just means that race didn't affect it.
Right. Which I've had to explain. So like when I first read I was like, good. Yeah, she's okay, she's admitting she has privilege but like her aggression.
Aggressive.
With aggression with like, but I worked my ass off. Like, she could have been like, look, I know, I understand that is very privileged. I work really hard and I'm proud that I was able to get myself to this point. And it's so nice to have the extra help around the house because there are some things that just fall through the cracks. There's just like a more graceful way. And then when she like doubled down on the like, she just like kept, I was like, okay, so I kind of read, I had like a snapshot of like what happened. And then I saw and I was like, oh no. So like, the tone's all wrong. Like,
she was really aggressive.
The disrespect.
Right. There's nothing wrong with hiring someone that is a housekeeper. I mean, people need the job, but people have businesses around housekeeping.
Right. It's part of the economy.
Right. So it's not to say that you shouldn't hire a housekeeper if you have the means. It's the way that Rachel Hollis was like, I have someone that comes to clean the toilets. Like, that's not what's happening here. Like, she's keeping your entire house clean. So why would you boil it down to like the worst part of the job?
And it makes it like there's no human behind.
It's right. It's right. There's no dignity.
Strips the dignity.
The other thing about the second Rachel Hollis apology, a couple of really prominent Black influencers were commenting on the post as they went through. One of them is Glows Graphics, who we've talked about. I love. She commented on the most recent apology and was like, this is better. Like, there are still things that I would change, but this is much better. But like, it's too late at this point. Like, you waited 5 days after you posted the video. You left the video up like to keep the like publicity coming in. You wrote this shit apology and blamed your team, and then waited another 2 days, deleted everything else. So it deleted all of the education that was on the posts that like Black influencers took out the time to like educate not only her, but other people. She just deleted them. Right. And then did this other apology. So she was like, yeah, like, this is fine, whatever. But like, look at all the shit that you did before that to get to this like, okay, apology. Like, no, you're done.
Right. Yeah. That's also where we've talked about this before, and like the energy of these people trying to educate in the comments. Mm-hmm. This is a perfect example of like, okay, where'd that fucking go? Like, it's better to like realize this person's a lost cause. Right. And then like, if I want to broadly educate people, do it on my own page, because who knows what these people are going to do. Like, I saw her on GMA. I don't remember. I think it was the Wash Your Facebook or I don't know. I don't watch GMA, but I had been scrolling through and I was like, oh, this girl's a twat. I knew. I was like, mm-mm.
I mean, she did stadium conference things.
Wild. So I guess for me, and then I would see that video of her being aggressive. I'd be like, I'm not going to waste my time on this bitch in her comments because she's probably going to delete them.
No.
Because it's just who she is. But no.
She does not give a fuck.
No, she doesn't care at all.
No. I don't want to stay on this too long, but I did want to bring it up because it was sent into our DMs on Instagram on the podcast, which I thought was great. It was from a girl I went to law school with who has followed Bookstagram and the pod. So so appreciated.
Yes, thank you.
And I went for people that don't know, I went to law school at Alabama. So I was, I don't know, one of 4 or 5 people from the North, in my class. There were not many people. So, and I also am pretty, as we discussed in the last episode, pretty anti-gun. But there are tons of people in the South that are pro-gun. It's a very, Second Amendment part of the country. So her husband was in the military and they are now gun collectors. He's not, I don't know what happens when you leave the military. I don't know if you're just in reserves, but in any event, he has guns and he's now a gun collector. And I found out the difference between an assault rifle and an assault weapon. So an assault rifle is a rapid-fire magazine-fed rifle designed for military use, which allows shooters to select between semi-automatic, which is the AR-15s, fully automatic, or 3-shot bursts. So that's an assault rifle.
Okay.
There is technically no such thing as an assault weapon. That's not an
Is the AR-15 an assault rifle?
Yes.
And it just depends on what magazine you have. Or
yes.
What.
So it is an assault rifle.
Okay.
But yeah, so there is no such thing as an assault weapon, but it is this category that has been made up to include weapons like an AR-15. And AR actually doesn't stand. I don't think I wrote down what it actually stands for, but it doesn't stand for automatic rifle. The A is the company that first made the gun.
Okay.
So that's not even what it stands for.
Got it. Okay.
But she said they have both an AR-15 and an AK-47 in their house, just from being in the military and now him being a collector. They shoot at the range. And he said that he has rifles that are more deadly than an AR-15, that are civilian rifles that you wouldn't necessarily call an assault weapon that are more deadly than an AR-15, which of course we would just never know about.
No, never know. What makes it what is?
I didn't ask.
Okay.
But she explained to me that AR-15s are semi-automatic, which means the gun automatically puts the round into the chamber, but it means you have to pull the trigger every time, which I didn't know.
Right.
I assumed it was I don't know, slower or something, but you're still pulling the trigger every time.
Automatic is just you pull the trigger once and you can get
and
multiples.
It just go right until you let go of the trigger.
Right.
So her thought, and this is definitely true, is instead of banning the AR-15s, you ban the capacity to add, because AR-15s allow for the large capacity magazines where you could fill it with 200 shots before having to stop to reload.
Mm-hmm.
Whereas an AR, I don't know how many an AR-15 actually holds, but if you take away that ability, you're going to have to stop a lot sooner to reload your gun.
Right. To stop you here, can't you also don't a lot of the shooters in these situations, for lack of a better word, doctor up their guns and manipulate them to have different. So that's also an issue, right? It's not even just magazine. It's the ability to I don't know, and 3D printers probably aren't helping because people can fucking print fucking parts to shit, you know?
That's a really great point. So basically, and I think it's that, obviously AR-15s are getting the rap because everyone that is participating in these mass murders are pulling out AR-15s. That's the gun that they're choosing to get. You don't even hear people being oh yeah, he walked in with an AK-47. You only hear AR-15s. And I don't know if that's because they're easier to get. I'm not really sure.
Or the easier to manipulate, a change to whatever.
Right. And to me, I feel from what she was saying, the only difference to me between a handgun and an AR-15 is that it probably holds more, right?
Right.
Like that's what it sounds like. A handgun can probably only hold like 6, 7.
Is like the shot distance the same? That's what I associate with rifle too. Like you can be farther away and get more of an impact versus like hand.
That might be true.
Like that's where I'm like it feels more deadly just because of that. Like not even so when I kind of reflect on our conversations about the gun control debate, I'm not, because I read about that on the what is the rifle
NRA.
NRA, thank you. Brain fog. Whoa. I read about that too, where it's like it's semi-automatic, so it's not like actually like it's not like crazy. But I just was thinking like there's got to be another way that these are more deadly.
I mean, I think the fact that the Vegas shooting where it was at the music festival, that proves that like it has distance, because I think he was in a hotel room when he was shooting down into
like why does it feel like sniper rifle? Like that's what I think of in my head.
Right. I mean,
I'm like, yeah. Like it's got to be
like sort of what it is.
There's got to be a different. Like I get the manual thing. I'm not going to argue that anymore. But well, handgun has less rounds, so like that. But also the distance has to be a thing.
So yeah, I'm going to actually ask her about the distance. But she said, first of all, like if I thought that, you know, a government buyback or a you know, like a drop off where like all AR-15s had to be like dropped into this bucket, if I thought that was going to stop this and like was going to be a solution, I would definitely turn in my AR-15. She's like, I'm a rare breed where I like guns, and I'm also like extremely pro gun control.
Well, because she uses guns in the sport way, responsible way, right? Or responsibly, like okay, have your hobbies. Like I don't give a fuck.
Right.
Like I just care that it's so prevalent.
And so I'm going to ask her about the distance, but she said
just like ask her anything, or if she's listening, anything that can like, okay, besides the automatic part, like let's take that out of the conversation. Is there anything about that makes it more deadly? Like why would someone want to pick that up? I think I did
message her that, and I haven't. I can look and see if she's actually messaged me. No,
don't even worry about it. But okay.
So her suggestions as like an alternative to a complete assault rifle ban would be waiting periods to get guns, which like I don't think anyone is really disagreeing with what she's about to say. Waiting periods to get guns, closing all background check loopholes, banning high capacity magazines and binary triggers, bar people who have been convicted of domestic violence from owning firearms, and allow people with mental health issues to self-report to a no-buy list to prevent suicide.
Self-report's going to be an issue though. The self-report's going to be an issue. I think that it should be, like physicians, like their psychologists, like should be like be putting people, like it's like how do people have to get on the sex offender list? Like it's not that like they have to self-report?
No,
I don't know.
That's automatic.
Yeah, exactly. So I feel like it should be automatic. If you are struggling with any sort of mental illness, like you probably should be, or like there should be some sort of I mean, and I guess that like people would probably panic because people don't want the stigmatization of having a mental illness, but like there has to be a level with which
the bottom line is like you can see obviously the argument for people that are collectors or people that use them for sport and are handling them properly to be like, why are you trying to get rid of this? And she said to me, she was like, honestly, you may like, because she sent me a bunch of stuff to read and I did. And she's like, you may read this and still fall on the side of like ban them, which I do. But like, I can understand why like a specific gun is sort of getting a bad rap when she's like, like most people don't use it for this. You know what I mean?
And to her point, it's like you think about all these shooters and they literally buy their guns like weeks before the event. Like
the one in Boulder was 6 days before.
So like that's why I don't care about gun buyback. Like I don't really care about any of it. Like I'm not worried about the ecosystem of guns that exist. I mean, I can't say that because a shooting could happen tomorrow and someone could have bought a gun 7 days ago. But like the ecosystem of people that feel passionately about owning their guns.
You're not trying to take the ones that are already
in system. I don't really care because I feel like it's most of the time there are people like whether or not like they're willing to engage with us in conversation about it is different. Like your friend seems like very open to like talking about both sides, which is so nice. So like, I'm not saying every gun owner is like that. They're going to like be passionate about what they're passionate about. But like, I generally think that the people that probably own them are responsible with them to that regard. I just, there has to be a deeper understanding of like, what is making AR-15s the ones that are like flying off the shelves. And then I think the mitigation measures of like background, which I feel like is what, and maybe I'm wrong, maybe what Biden's proposing for gun control is like totally different. But I don't care about taking them off or removing them. I just care about moving forward, them getting into the wrong hands and like understanding like the things that make them attractive for people that want to commit these mass shootings.
Okay, so I just Googled why are AR-15s so popular, and Wikipedia brought up a little blurb, and it says many hunters prefer to use AR-15 style rifles because of their versatility, accuracy, wide variety of available features, and wide variety of calibers. Collapsible stocks are convenient for hunters who pack their rifles into remote hunting locations or for length of pull adjustments to fit any size hunter, which like I don't want to say like what I'm thinking exactly, but like that also applies to a mass shooter.
No, they're hunting people. That's why I asked the distance thing. Like, right. That's why I'm like, so there's got to be a reason. And it also sounds like features. Like, I bet you can make that gun whatever you need it to be.
Right. So on NBC News, it is For some, the gun is a tool, a finely tuned machine that can cut down an animal or intruder or pierce a distant target with a single precise shot. So there's like this whole like article about people are buying AR-15s because of the talk of like the buyback. So they're like, or like the future ban of them. So if
now they don't do a buyback, off the shelves,
they're falling off the shelves because people are like, well, what if I can never get it again? It says here that they actually were developed in the 50s and were used in the Vietnam War, I think, if I'm reading that correctly. But now it's like, it's one of the most popular guns. There's a whole article that I'm going to post.
And it makes me, while at the same time, I just like, I don't really care what people own as long as they're responsible with it. And like, I think it's just the government's job to make sure we're taking care of a lot of what happens is mental illness. Like, let's be honest.
Right.
And mental instability. And I think that, along with COVID, has just exposed so many weaknesses in the way we take care of our people, or don't take care of our people.
Right.
So I think that that's where the government, but then at the same time, I'm kind of like knowing that we have weapons, and I guess I get for sport, and I don't want to take that away, but like hearing that like, oh, this gun was used in the Vietnam War, I'm like, okay, so
that's what I was just going to say.
So what person thought it was a good idea to bring a war style
Right. That was what one of the things this article just said. It was like, this gun was used to kill people. That was its original intent. So now we have this like, now it's just in the wild. And there are people that are saying like the AR-15 is an all-in-one package. To your point, the handgun can only do so much. When you have an AR-15, it's self-defense, it's hunting, it's, it has all these wide range of
but
things.
Self-defense is so intense.
Yeah.
Like if you're defending yourself, a handgun is fine, in my opinion.
Right. But their point is that like, if they're also hunters or they're also whatever, they now have this all-in-one gun where they like,
I don't know. I struggle with hunting too, generally.
Oh yeah. That's same.
I'm like, I don't want to take people's sport away from them, but I'm also like, talk about like, cause I just think about, and we'll talk about conspiracy later. But I generally have this problem. I'm like, oh God, but like talk about changing the ecological footprint of like the world, like, and how livable it is.
Yeah. Well, I think the bottom line is AR-15 supporters are like, well, like even a ban on AR-15s, if people are going to hurt someone, they're going to hurt someone, which to some extent I agree with. Like, if a person is like, writing a manifesto and is trying to go like shoot up a church, like he's probably going to figure out a way to do that. Like he's had this, this whole thing planned out.
Right.
If it's a crazy, that was like a crude way to say it. But if it's someone that like, is just unstable, goes and buys a gun and 5 days later shoots up a grocery store, what would if there were stronger preventions, like would he have been able to do that? So it's not it's more the unplanned things, the unstable, unplanned things versus the guy who's writing the manifesto. Yeah, he's probably going to find a different gun. But like the person that just like snaps.
100%. And I think we talked about this last episode where it's like, we're not trying to say that like it's going to stop the violence. Like people are going to find a way. They're going to find a way. It's just about like the number of people that actually die. And then I think,
how many are saved with these precautions.
Right. And I think when we talk about background checks, for instance, we're not talking about just if you're buying an AR-15, like, no, like gun generally, like let's just have safe gun practices and encourage those safe practices. And maybe it's okay, you know, if you have your hunting license, then you can buy an AR-15. Great. You're using it for sport. I don't know. It also just exposes, again, I'm like, where's the brainstorming in Congress? Like, why can't we people just sit? Like, wouldn't it just be so wonderful if like, because we're able to like kind of have this conversation with your friend, even though it's not one-to-one right now, it's like, that's a beautiful thing. Like the brainstorming that can come from that. Like, why is our government, it's failing
not
all
doing
of
the
us.
same
It's
thing.
failing all of us. I mean, let's be real. It's just, it's failing literally everyone, whether or not they believe it is, in so many ways.
Yeah. I mean, I think the bottom line is like, people are going to find the guns. Like they're right. They're going to, if they're determined to do whatever, they're going to find the guns. But what are these precautions going to do to save lives in the future? Because the violence will happen. It's just how much violence is going to happen.
Absolutely.
So I did think it was interesting. Like I do still come out on the side of ban, but like that is because I'm super anti-gun and like I'm not a fan of hunting. Like I'm not a fan of any reason of having one.
I just,
like, if there were no guns,
it's hard for me to wrap my head around. I struggle to like tell people what to do.
Right.
Like live your fucking life. But yeah, I can't, in the depths of my soul, I'm like, why does it need to exist? Like outside of a situation of war. Like it doesn't need to be on our soil in our fucking grocery stores. It doesn't need to happen.
No. Yeah. So I thought it was great that she like wrote in and like brought in some alternative perspectives, because it made me like do a little deep dive and like read some articles I probably wouldn't have read otherwise.
Thank you for doing that.
Thank you,
the education.
Friend. Yeah, for sure. Okay, so we have another email to try saying that out loud moment from our friend Marissa, and it's so good. But because we have not shut up for an hour and 20 minutes, we are saving it for the next episode because it's a great one, and we want to make sure we give it the proper time. Discussion. Yeah. So we're skipping it for today, the first time ever, and Lo's going to tell us some shit because Lo, I want to know.
Oh, that was good.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm going to take 2 questions today because they were kind of short, snippy ones, and I thought that was more fun than a deep dive in some regards. And some of it I've probably talked about before, so you're not going to be surprised. But one of the questions was, Lo, I want to know, how much water should I really drink every day? There are 2 rules, right? A lot. You should basically waterboard yourself, essentially, which is an inappropriate thing to say, but that's often how I feel. Like yesterday when I had a fever, I was like, it was insane. Anyway, there are 2 ways. Like, so people will say 2 different things. One is just, no matter who you are, 64 ounces a day. The other, which I kind of like to go by because I believe that everyone's bodies are very different. And I don't think overhydrating is ever an issue. I mean, I guess some people are like, oh, you're like having to, I don't know. I just don't believe it's an issue. Half of your body weight in ounces.
Yeah, that makes sense. So that
can be more than 64 for a lot of people. But a lot of people also, with regards to the water question, ask about like if you feel really depleted, like electrolytes. So basically what electrolytes are, and I'll just give a quick debrief, is so things like calcium and sodium are considered electrolytes. And basically what they do, they basically, because so many situations in our body, especially with water, like barriers of cells, membranes, they often, like liquids, traverse across the barriers through osmosis. So it looks to like, so sodium, for instance, kind of helps balance water balance or liquid balance. So electrolytes are, honestly, they're required for so many things. And like our bodies are good about getting them from our food. Like we get them from all sorts of sources. So really electrolytes, like some people, like I have a friend who's like, I'm doing electrolytes in my water. And I'm like having better bowel movements. And I'm like, only
so because you don't think most people need to add electrolytes to their diet?
It depends on your diet. Like if you're getting plenty of like good quality, like sodium, for instance, in your foods, like most people consume too much sodium, as an example.
Right.
So you don't need more because electrolytes essentially like replace those sodium stores.
Right.
So you don't need like more of that could be more damaging to this. So for most people, I don't believe that you need to be using electrolytes all the time. Situationally, like if you have like really bad food poisoning and like you're super depleted, that can be a great time to like introduce electrolytes because it can help your body reabsorb and actually use some of the water that you're trying to rehydrate with. And then of course, like if you're exercising really intensely in 100 degrees and you're like sweating boatloads, like, and you feel depleted, like listen to your body, I guess, more than anything.
You can tell.
Like you can tell when you're excessively dehydrated. I think the problem is that most people don't realize they're dehydrated because they're not drinking enough water. So my first step is once you start drinking enough water, whether it's 64 ounces or however you do the math, you start to notice the changes in your body when you don't drink enough. And so you become a little bit more in tune. And so then you can use electrolytes when it starts to make sense. And when you've like gone to, like, I don't use electrolytes. The only time I would use it would be literally if I had food poisoning and I like lost a bunch of liquid, basically.
Right.
So again, 2 ways to go about how much water you should drink: 64 ounces or half your body weight in ounces. And a lot of people try, I mean, throughout the day is good. I like carry, like this is a giant Swell bottle. So if I have two
Mine is over there and it's 40. Is yours 40? Is that the 40 ounce one? 32 ounce?
25.
Oh, I have a 40 ounce like motherfucker.
Oh, yeah, maybe I should get that.
And I feel like I don't know if I drink 2 full ones a day, I'm good.
100, like overly. Yeah. Anyway, so it's helpful to get a water bottle that you know the ounces, and then you just are like, I need to have.
And it's cute.
2 of these or 4 of these, like whatever it is.
That's why I got a big one because I was like, oh, it's only 2 of these. So.
Yeah. So anything you can do, water's great. And I will get off my soapbox about this, maybe never, but filtered water. Your water. Like there are just unhealthy like our body's meant to detox like naturally, but often we're so overloaded with other things that our body's trying to detox that like in the least filtering your water can make a big difference and your kidneys will work less hard. I did read something because I'm obsessed with filtering my water and I like taste a difference. So I freak out. I freak out when I have like tap water and I'm like, what is it? Like, what is going on? And I was like, oh no, I need to be like carrying charcoal sticks with me everywhere I go to filter my water. But then I took a step back and I was like, look, the body's meant to know how to filter these things. So like just control what you can control, but like at home, filtered water is the way to go. The second question was an interesting one. It's about apple cider vinegar. The question was, Lo, I want to know, does apple cider vinegar actually do anything?
I have that exact question.
Totally valid question. There are 2 parts to this. So apple cider vinegar, and I'm not even sure what started people becoming obsessed with apple cider vinegar. I
don't know either.
My POV is that, the brand Bragg's, they have the apple cider vinegar, they have liquid aminos, they have all these things. And they're like alternative soy products and whatever. They're supposed to be healthier. My perspective is that Bragg's just literally released apple cider vinegar and everyone was like, it's the elixir of health. I believe. I don't know. I have not confirmed, but that's honestly what I think. But here's the thing. So any vinegar you take, balsamic vinegar, white wine vinegar, red wine vinegar, champagne vinegar, any sort of vinegar is comparable. Like apple cider vinegar just falls into a special vinegar. It's not a special vinegar. I mean, so vinegars go through a fermentation process, and that's kind of what pulls out this acetic acid, which is basically what makes all vinegars kind of the same. The fermentation process can be different. Like balsamic vinegar obviously is like sweeter than like a champagne vinegar, right? Like it has different compounds. So vinegars are different, but in terms of like their health benefits, it's really the acetic acid that is what's unlocking all these benefits. So acetic acid, there have been studies that have proven it to be, they call it anti-diabetic, which basically means it kind of helps regulate blood sugar, maybe helps with insulin sensitivity, those types of things. But also antimicrobial effects. Like a lot of people talk about apple cider vinegar, like using it on your skin if you have like eczema or psoriasis or like something.
Would you recommend that?
I don't know. I mean, I don't think it, I don't know. I mean, there are no studies that support it. I have never tried it. I think there was a study where people with eczema tried apple cider vinegar and didn't know, like, it wasn't like that life-changing.
Life-changing. Okay.
But because vinegars, they're also packed with antioxidants. So there are all sorts of beneficial things to vinegars, but again, vinegars, period. Apple cider vinegar is not necessarily unique to that.
Excellent. So I feel like that kind of circles back. I asked you this question yesterday. Highline Wellness, which is one of my favorite CBD companies, came out with a like trio of gummies, one of them being an apple cider vinegar gummy and the other two being like detoxifying and debloating. And I was like, they're advertising this at their right target. And I sent them to Lo and I was like, what about these?
I know. I have to look at the ingredients.
I mean, but like the answer to this is like, unless I'm not getting vinegar anywhere else, where like sometimes I'm not, but like I think probably enough, like that I don't need these.
Anyway, studies on apple cider vinegar in particular, because it did get hype and however the fuck it happened, let's thank Bragg's I stand by that. Again, may help with insulin sensitivity. And there was a small study, very small numbers on these studies. And so that's why it's like not like, who knows? People that were diabetic took apple cider vinegar after like kind of a high carbohydrate glucose meal. And the next morning had lower fasting glucose levels. So there's, like potentially might help insulin resistance, glucose levels in diabetics. May help decrease belly fat. Again, really small numbers. I really think that it's more about appetite and like the feeling of fullness that vinegar can kind of give you. So I think that's the main contributing factor. Like you're not going to overeat, that type of thing. Right. And then some evidence in, I think it's mice or rats, one of them, some sort of rodent, that it may help manage cholesterol and triglyceride levels. With regards to cardiovascular health, but no such studies have been done in humans. So
interesting.
The TLDR is apple cider vinegar and those taking things as like a supplement like that, like you always want to check with your doctor because depending on what other medications you're taking or what other things you're doing, there can be interrelations. Yeah, you don't want. So I, would make sure it's okay from that perspective. I mean, here's the thing, like, it's vinegar at the end of the day, right? Like it's not going to but you want to make sure it's not going to interact negatively with whatever else you're taking. Also, if you are taking it, here's the benefit to a gummy is it's super acidic, right? So if you're literally drinking apple cider vinegar and water, like that can be like eroded enamel.
Right.
And like, you don't necessarily want any of that. So be careful with like how you supplement, I guess. My thing is just fucking cook with it. Just like use it. Like I used to pop, now I don't really have it, but like I used to, I use vinegars in my salad dressings that I make. Used to, I've talked about this before, but if you're wilting or lightly cooking greens, cooking them in acidic liquid can help preserve some of the nutrient content. So if I don't use lemon juice, I used to like throw a splash of vinegar in there. So that would be my thing. I don't know. I guess I wouldn't think of apple cider vinegar as beneficial in a silo either. Like it's not just apple cider vinegar that's good.
It's not just a cure-all.
Right. It's the acetic acid in any vinegar that you can use and get the benefits of. So it doesn't hurt you unless you're taking it all the time and you're taking certain medications. So again, this is not medical advice. This is just purely my knowledge. And so always check with your healthcare providers and your health team to make sure it fits for you. But that's kind of my
team.
My general vibe on apple cider vinegar.
Would you? Oh, yeah. Yeah, you are my health team. So I check with you. So.
And I love that.
I will not be imbibing in apple cider vinegar gummies.
Well, yeah, especially if they have like sugar in them, right?
Yeah, despite how well they targeted me. I was like, oh, well.
Enneagram?
Yeah, we're on the last one. We got some shifting to do next time.
Wild.
But it's Enneagram 5, and I'm very excited for this.
I am too, actually.
As you know, my husband is an Enneagram 5, and it was so fun to like do
psychoanalyze him.
It was great. And we have a good friend that is also an Enneagram 5 who has been patiently waiting for us to get to her section.
I love. Yeah.
So Starting with the memes, the Enneagram 5 bingo includes only books for presents, please, niche interests, being alone, I'll think about it and get back to you, documentaries, minimalism, a robust savings account, people watching, and probably doesn't follow you on Instagram.
Fair.
Ben has never posted a single thing on Instagram ever.
Does he have a handle?
Mm-hmm.
Well,
just never ever posted.
I know anything. Alex doesn't really either. I mean, I think he's posted a handful of times, but.
And then instead of doing 5s on a plane or 5s in traffic, this was the funniest one of the of how 5s fuck up their love life. So there was one for every type, but 5s was the funniest. Okay. Hello, I must retreat into my mind palace and emotionally ignore you for several major life crises. Catch you on the flip.
Peace.
Literally. The most traumatic thing could be happening to Ben, and he'd be like, I just didn't want to bother you with that. I'm like, oh, okay, cool. Doesn't matter.
Where do those emotions go in the body?
I don't know. I don't know either.
Stresses me.
So the Enneagram 5 is the investigator, the thinker, the observer. They are intense, cerebral, perceptive, innovative, secretive, and isolated. Quote, when it comes to emotional engagement, less is more for a 5 because they have to ration their connections. So there is there's limited capacity for having friends and giving them their emotional attention. They're just I'm not going to fucking do it. No, have a nice day. 5s get peopled out, expressing a need to spend time away from the outside world after having exerted social energy in almost any capacity. And this was my favorite quote in the Millenniagram. When I first read it, I was like, oh, this is my life. I should just get this tattooed on me somewhere. Loving a 5 is a long con. I can't recommend it for the faint of heart.
It sounds like it.
Long con, for sure. That's how I feel.
Oh, God.
So other characteristics, they are alert, insightful, curious, and are able to concentrate on developing complex ideas and skills. They are independent, innovative, inventive, but they can become preoccupied with their own thoughts. They are often detached, but also high-strung and intense. And at their best, they're visionary pioneers, often ahead of their time, and are able to see the world in an entirely new way, which is Ben. I say this, and people say this about their spouses and their friends, but he is one of the smartest people I've ever met in my life. And so much of the shit that he deals with at work is I can't even begin to process. I'm just I don't understand. And some of it is not knowing business, period. But some of it is I don't have a fucking clue what you're talking about. Can't even begin to process what this might mean. Right. So I'm not going to. But yeah, that's exactly how
I'm going to go to my mind palace. That has nothing to do with this.
See you fucking later. My mind palace is Love Island, UK. The villa. That's how I feel.
Totally. 100%.
So 5's basic fear is being useless, helpless, and incapable. So their basic desire is to be capable and competent, which makes their unconscious childhood message, it's not okay to be comfortable in the world. I know. They're all so sad. They're all just
Benny, boo, boo, boo. Who
right.
made you feel not uncomfortable in the world?
And he was like, that's a load of horse shit. And I was like, cool. Excellent.
Exactly the response I expected from you.
Right. Their key motivations are to possess knowledge, understand the environment, have everything figured out as a way of defending themselves from threats to their environment. So if they know it all, then they can handle it all. 5s want to find out why things are the way they are, understand how the world works, and behind their relentless pursuit of knowledge are deep insecurities about their able to function successfully in the world. Knowledge, understanding, and insight are highly valued by 5s, so they're not interested in exploring what is already familiar and well established, and they feel like they need to have one area where they are an expert in. So Ben has several, but if they have an area where they can kind of just word vomit something at you about whatever the given topic is and pretty much know the answer to any question, that is the goal of a 5.
Got it.
5's challenge is to understand that they can pursue whatever questions spark their imagination, maintain relationships, and take care of themselves at the same time. It's not one or nothing.
Yep.
Or all or nothing.
Yep.
So they are in the thinking triad with 6 and 7, and they are, again, concerned with anxiety and want security. And of course, 5s project their anxiety inward. It's never like an outward expression.
Yeah, so it's hard to tell if they're anxious.
Correct. It's extremely hard. It's taken me some time to figure out when Ben is just being quiet because he's like decompressing, and when he's being quiet because like something's actually happening. Like,
is he self-aware of his anxiety, or does it also make it so that they're not as like in touch with those feelings of anxiety? Like they just retreat,
the
but
latter.
Don't really. Okay.
The latter, for sure. Okay. But he's also not in general an anxious person. Right. Like he's just generally not like when
that's I like outward, right? Like how would you know?
No, he's told me like he's not an anxious person.
Got it.
Like when not only am I an anxious person, like my internal monologue is just like bleh, all the time. Like, you know, if I'm having an internal monologue with myself, I'm saying it out loud in the fucking kitchen. And he's like, can you just like ever have a silent thought? Like something can stay
God.
In.
I say those words to Alex all the time. I'm like, do you ever just not want to talk?
No, I've never had a silent thought in my whole life. Anyway, so their social style is withdrawn, which means they respond to stress by moving away from engagement with the world and into an inner space. And they 5s withdraw into a complex and cerebral inner tinker toy. It was like what the book said. Basically like their like mind palace, essentially. Yeah. Right.
Yeah.
And their coping style is competency, which means they deal with difficulty by putting aside personal feelings and striving to be objective, effective, and competent, which means that they put any feelings that they have about something on the back burner. The wings are the iconoclast, which is a 5-wing 4. These wings are so different. Like if I had to pick the most different besides 8s, I actually think 5s are probably the most different. So their curiosity and perceptiveness with a desire to express a unique vision. They are more emotional, introspective, independent, and creative than 5-wing 6. They are often creative loners, mixing passion and detachment. And some examples are Stephen King, Tim Burton, Kurt Cobain, and Van Gogh. So like they really pull from the 4-wing and like have that artistic, and like the dark, you know, Tim Burton, like kind of like think of it that way. But they have like a lot of the like sort of brain power of a 5. So like that is one end of the 5. The other end, which is Ben, 5-wing 6, the problem solver, can combine a talent for innovation with business savvy, the most purely intellectual of all of the subtypes. Extremely restrained and private about their feelings, and can be more argumentative than 5-wing 4 and are more defensive in their views. Some examples: Stephen Hawking, Bill Gates, Jane Goodall, Charles Darwin.
Whoa.
The variant between Tim Burton and Kurt Cobain and Bill Gates and Stephen Hawking is
and
like
Jane Goodall.
Right. Like it's just, I mean, they couldn't be further apart. But so like that's why like when you know, people when they're 2s, like I think the wings are so similar that like when you get to these and you're like, oh, like you clearly have to be a wing because you're not going to be one of these. Like there's like no
a balanced wing might not be a thing.
Yeah, a balanced, I would be shocked if I met anyone that was a balanced 5. So instinctual variants are self-preservation is the castle. They are the subtype with the most boundaries, and they are the clearest example in the Enneagram of introversion. They have difficulty with expressing anger and prefer to withdraw instead of communicate. They conserve their energy in order to avoid needing others, and they can be very private and protective of their home space. So they are like, if you had to pick the most typical 5 of the subtypes, it's this one. The social subtype is the specialist. They are masters of wisdom and try to become indispensable in their field. And they interact with others by debating ideas, critiquing society, and analyzing needs. And
sorry, Jack can cut that out.
Yeah. Is there someone here?
No. I don't know, but that's the benefit of having the double audios.
Because he can just pull it.
Because I'm not speaking, and it's only Clarence, so he can just... Clarence! Shut the fuck up!
Can you see the door?
I'm gonna close it. No, I can't. I'm upstairs. Hold on. He's unbelievably annoying. Okay, sorry.
Okay. They interact with others by debating ideas, critiquing society, and analyzing needs. They are in search of a relationship with shared ideals, and they can look like a 1 or a 7. That is what I think Ben is, which is interesting because it's the social subtype, which like you don't like think about him as like particularly social, but like he fucking loves to debate. Like just like get him with anyone that will debate him, and he really hates the fact that I won't debate him. I just don't like, I get too emotionally invested and I just don't really enjoy it, especially because he can like really fucking dig in there and like press the buttons that a lot of other people couldn't press in a debate. So I don't enjoy it, but
you're like it's not a safe space for me then,
right? Like but that is his dream, is to debate somebody all day.
Oh my god.
And then the one-on-one is This Is My World. They like to share secret information with their intimates. Like, for example, like someone that they're really close with, they would just say, I've never told anyone this, but, and like fill in the blank. That's like a big thing with them. And they focus on finding the ideal partnership because they place so much value on one-on-one connection. So like they're not spreading what little connection energy they have among several people. Like they're going to try and focus it on one person. And this is, they can mistype as a 4, but what that would likely mean is that they're either a 4-wing 5 or a 5-wing 4 if this like type is coming out. And then of course on the document we have all the levels of development from 1 through 9. And then in stress, detached 5s suddenly become hyperactive and scattered at 7, which like Ben says that is him. Ben says that is him, but like I don't, like I guess I've never, like when he's stressed, like I can tell, but I don't see that side of him. Like he's never been hyperactive in his life. And like I guess maybe the scattered, like, but I don't see like what he's doing at work. You know what I mean? Like
he probably feels more scattered than
right. Like that's probably off. Right.
Like that's I think how I don't think someone would look at me and say, "Oh, you're scattered 7."
Right.
But like
some are.
Sometimes I feel like
internally scattered.
Yes. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, that makes more sense. They react against isolation by impulsively throwing themselves into activities, and they become restless, agitated, and act out by searching indiscriminately for stimulation and experience, which like some of that I don't totally see with Ben. Like, but he does like throw himself into shit.
Well, he's
like,
also, I think, probably a very on the spectrum healthy relative to a 5.
For sure.
And those are like unhealthy 7, like impulse. Buy everything.
Right. Never.
Yeah.
Would literally never.
Right.
In health, detached 5s become more self-confident and decisive like healthy 8s. So 5s grow by coming down out of their heads and coming into deeper felt contact with their vitality and physicality. And when they're healthy, they feel empowered to take on major challenges and often assume leadership roles. So what was interesting is Ben's boss at one point, like his boss was an 8 and Ben was a 5, and 8s go to 5 in stress and 5 goes to 8 in health. So like their relationship is so
symbiotic.
Unique. Yeah. It's like really like, yeah, it's really That's interesting. Cool.
Yeah.
And I didn't know that he was an 8 like until like, I don't know, long after I knew him. And so finding that out, and we've known Ben was a 5, I was like, oh, this makes a lot of sense.
Yeah.
Right.
Oh, interesting.
And there weren't that many 5s in history that people would give a shit about. So, but I do have a few. Siddhartha Gautama, like Buddha, was a 5. Einstein. Yeah, you can't beat that. Einstein, Salvador Dali, Emily Dickinson, Agatha Christie, Mark Zuckerberg, and Jodie Foster. So like you really do have like the spectrum of like the real creatives. Like Emily Dickinson was clear, like she was definitely a 5-wing 4. Right. I don't know why she's not sorted.
And like spiritual depth too. Like
right.
So much like otherworldly presence type people.
Yeah. Dali, the Buddha, Einstein, like you like
right, like something like you meet them in or not that we've met those people, but like like they have something when you like think about them.
Right. Right. There's a distinct yeah, that's a great point. There's a distinct thing you think about every time you think about any of these people. Right. Like they've brought some contribution to the world.
Yeah. That's so cool. I love that.
So that's Enneagram 5, and we're fucking done.
Yeah. Done. Now the pressure's on to like do the Temptation Island.
To really perform. Yeah. Okay. So
you're this.
So my book is back at the library. So
right. So I can show it, even though no one watches this video.
That's true. Lovely. I love it.
Lovely Deacon King Kong. I do like the cover.
I do really like the cover.
No, me too. Like the orange really speaks to me. Yeah. I know we've talked about this, but like I'm still very drawn to orange. I just ordered a pair of orange hoops.
Ooh.
It's gonna be
fun. Those would be great.
Like, why? This is a 7 in me. I also but like bought another hat. Okay, we don't need to talk about that. I cannot stop buying things that adorn my head. It might be my toxic trait. Anyway, this book also has a hat. He has a hat on in the cover.
He does have a hat.
Fucking circle.
Okay, so I got this book from the library and I kept it for like an extra week and a half because I wasn't done reading it. And I think we talked about this originally when we first last episode, but it was definitely a slow start and not necessarily in a bad way. Like I wasn't like, oh, this is moving too slow. It was just, obviously there are so many characters. They just like throw 500 characters at you and you're like wondering which of them are important to actually remember.
Yep.
The answer is a lot of them for the most part.
Right.
Like they barely introduced anyone that wasn't important. So like you have that, and then all the characters are being fleshed out so well. You're learning about all of these different characters and all of these details, which I thought was great. It was funny. So like that kept me, I was like audibly laughing. But then you get into the second half and it's like, oh, here we are. Hello, things are happening. And like, you're starting to see like the pieces fall into place. So I wouldn't necessarily like be like, oh, this was a slow burn book. I like don't exactly know how to describe it. Like, I don't know what I would say.
So yeah, you're totally right. It's slow because you're trying to take your time sifting through like, who are these characters? Like it's slow almost in a way that I imagine. Like I tried to read Game of Thrones. And the character volume was just like, he fucking yawned. And I couldn't. So it's almost like on a lesser scale of that. Because you're like, okay, I'm not saying that like I'm not engaged. I'm just like trying to figure out all these characters.
Okay.
Anyway, so the way that as I was reading it, my first thought was, I was like, this would make a fucking great movie.
It'd be a great movie.
Like great, or TV, silver, whatever
like
the fuck
screen
they call it. Like it would be so, so incredible because that was my one thought. I was like, okay, this would be great for television because it's similar to Game of Thrones where it's like, it's almost like it would be easier to make sense of the characters if like you had a face to the name. Right. Face to the name and like understanding like how they all, because you spend the entirety of for the whole book, not even just the first half, trying to figure out how they're going to connect the dots. Mm-hmm. Right. And like how you understand that like, somehow
it's going to come full circle.
Like a full circle thing, but you don't understand how. My second thought was that I would adore like a book or otherwise a spin-off on all of these characters. Like the characters were so well flushed out and like so well developed that I was like, oh wow, like I could read a distinct book about all of these characters.
Yeah, they were so good.
Like it's hard, it's hard not to love. I know, but it was hard not to love each character for their own journey or their own
because you knew everything. It was like not a secret. Yeah. No, so I thought it was so good.
And so I felt the same as you, where I was like, oh gosh, am I gonna not like this book because it took me so, which is why we had to push it to this episode because I couldn't. Right. But I think the point is that you're supposed to spend time with it and you're supposed to kind of like.
It's not one you're meant to fly through.
Right. And I found the like slapstick humor. Like at
times. So fucking funny.
It was so funny. Can we talk about, I should have I might have to just like, it's not even a quote you can read. It's just a moment. And I can't remember the character's name.
Is it his son, Pudgy Fingers?
No. Sister Paul in the old folks home at the very end. When she says... You've got a face for swim trunk ads. Like, I'm sorry. Like, that is I will never forget that. Like,
there were so many things that I was like, the way he was describing people and just like the fact that his son's name is Pudgy Fingers, like.
So fucking funny. So and it's also like somehow made his like so this old man, for people that haven't read it, is like lost his motherfucking mind. He's a drunk,
Completely
but he's
lost
also
it.
just lost his fucking mind. He's talking to his dead wife, which also is fucking hysterical. But so like somehow it makes this like, it's actually a really terrifying thing that this person is like this much of an alcoholic and also this much losing his mind, and that we're laughing at it. Like,
and then we're still like, oh, we like him. He's
right,
cool.
right. Like that you're like rooting for him because you're like, he's not hurting anyone. I mean, but he did. Well, he did. But
well, yeah, he did. You find that out very early in the book.
Anyway, so and here's the thing too, the way the humor was used, at one moment I was laughing, and then at the next moment I was like, oh, fuck.
Mm-hmm.
Like it used humor to not like take away from the impact that this book had, like the commentary on race and class and all of that. Like it used humor in a really impressive way. Like I don't know that I've read an author that's able to do that. Like I feel like normally you'd be talking about these heavy topics and the humor would take away from that, but it almost like added to its impact, because at one point, like I said, you're laughing, and the next point you're like, oh, okay,
right.
Yeah.
And if anyone hasn't read the book or read the inside flap, I like have my review written for this and was like waiting until the podcast went live to post it. But I think I'm going to start doing this in my reviews, doing a 1-sentence synopsis, because I don't like the list of the synopsis in the book.
That's good.
Like in the post. And like, I also like people do it like where they post it as like the second slide, which is like fine. But like, I'm not reading that whole synopsis. I'm just not doing it. So I feel like a 1-sentence synopsis to the extent
because I don't synopsis in my reviews. I can't. I'm like, I don't know that I'm going to synopsis it better than the inside flap did. So like, why would I try?
Right. So my 1-sentence synopsis is: during the 1970s, a drunk deacon in Section 8 housing shoots a young drug dealer who he used to coach in baseball, and chaos ensues from there.
Yeah. I mean,
like that's what
literally.
And so I was like kind of like I was reading some people's reviews on Goodreads, and just like kind of like, this is one of the first books I've like really like done a dive on, and like trying to think of like what other people thought of and like things that I might have missed. I forgot as I was reading this that this book was set in 1969.
Right.
Like there is no reason that book couldn't have been set in 2020.
Totally.
Like,
yeah.
Like there was nothing, like, which is crazy because I mean, there's a huge race element. There's like police presence. Like
I think the only thing that made me know that, and maybe not the specific year, but know that it was historically based, was the Italian Black communities, like those, like that dichotomy of like both of them existing and like being other in a lot of ways, and like so that's true. That's what tied me to that. But no, you're right. There were times when I like had to remind myself that it was historically based. For
right.
Sure.
Which I think is so interesting because like to your like, and I've kind of forgot that was a thing, the Italian as other, but that was really the only thing that would put you in not the 2020s, which is crazy. Right. I did love how it came completely full circle. There like wasn't really anything that you like were like, well, what about like, I just thought it was like a great like
tie with a bow, right? Yes.
Yeah, I love a tie with a bow.
Yeah.
Yeah,
but not in a not thought-provoking way, right? Like it was tied with a bow, but it wasn't. That's not to say that it was like simple,
right? At all,
at all. You're still like, oh, like I could probably read that again and like pick up a thing. To your point about like, what did I miss?
100%.
Like there are probably so many things I missed.
Yeah, no, I thought it was like. And like you can't really go into a deep dive on this without massive spoilers, basically. And like it's also would be hard to do that because like the first half of the book is so much of learning about the characters. So like, it's like hard to spoil in the sense that like you would just be retelling the book if you're like, this is this character's story and this is this character's story.
Right. Yeah.
But it was great. And you like learn out why the book is called Deacon King Kong like pretty quickly, which I liked.
Right.
I like when you can figure out exactly like why the book is named what it is. Like I like seeing it.
And I felt, I really liked it. For not wanting to say this again, because we said this about Detransition Baby as well, but and in some ways it's like not unlike any book I've read, like character stories coming full circle, like that is obviously done in literature. But it does somehow I was left with, it wasn't like,
It was extremely unique.
Yeah, I wasn't, and I'm going to be honest, I wasn't left like, oh my God, this was 5 stars, my favorite book I've ever like read this year. Like it wasn't one of those for me.
Same.
But it was so unlike anything I've read. And I think it was the humor element and like the ability to do
He's an incredible writer.
humor, right, but still have poignancy and like depth that like made me feel like it was something I'd never read before. And so I'm keeping it on my shelf. Anyway, I do have a question, not to ruin this, but I think it's an interesting for those of you that have read it, and email us or comment after we do this. The role of the ants.
So interesting.
So like the only thing I can come to is that.
And when she says ants, it's ANTS, like the bug.
Yes. Sorry. Not on T's, like ants. Like, yes. Ants chasing cheese. Like,
yep.
Those were the parts where I was like, okay, like there's some real depth to this that I'm missing. But the only thing I can come to, and I'm curious to hear your thoughts, is for me, I guess the ants were a reminder of place and like
where they're living.
Yes. Yeah. But like, and the story is, when you think about it, it's about a single place, essentially. Not single in the church or the housing unit, but like an area, like square miled place, essentially. Yeah. And the ants being a consistent and constant like reminder of that.
As time is passing, you're in the same spot and like the ants are still coming like year
generationally. Yeah. It's also like a generational
That's
of like Elefante, like, is that how you say it? I always
That's how I said it.
Okay. But yeah, like his dad and like all these things that existed before. So that was
and the ants were always there. Yeah.
But that's one of those details where I'm like, if I read this again, I would pay more attention to that because I kind of
see where they're coming up.
I was so not overwhelmed, but I was
there was a lot.
Right. I was trying to wrap my head around all the characters and like how the storylines were, which is my fault. And like as a reader, just let it fucking unfold. Like don't try to predict, but like you do naturally. But I was so focused on that I was like, ants, I can't deal with fucking ants and cheese. Like, but it probably had like such a deep impact. Like, so I'm curious if people have read this, if you guys have another perspective on the role of the ants.
Yes, would love to hear. DM us because I know we have a handful of friends that have read this book already. Yeah. But I thought it was a great choice. Mm-hmm. It was a good.
I agree.
And if you haven't listened to the other episode, which means you probably aren't listening to this one, but our April pod pick is Red Pill by Hari Kunzru. Is that how you pronounce it?
Hari Kunzru. Yeah.
Yep. So yeah, you have 3 weeks at this point to read it, I think. Is that right?
Totally.
So yeah, we'll talk about it in our first episode of May. But I'm excited because we've had this one for both of our shelves for a while.
Yes.
So like it'll
be fun to take it off of my shelf finally. Yeah, right. To be honest, I'm like, I'm too overwhelmed. Why does the stack not go anywhere? I don't even buy.
It goes nowhere.
Like, but why?
And I have so many. Now my problem is I keep checking out too many library books. That's my new problem.
Well, there are worse problems, but
right. But then I have to return them after having not read them.
Yeah.
So stupid.
Right.
So
it's like, why am I collecting? They're collecting dust at this point.
But speaking of books, I read a book recently that pulled me out of a massive reading slump.
Oh, yeah? We love that.
I don't think you will give a fuck about it.
Okay.
But it is People We Meet on Vacation by Emily Henry.
Okay.
She is the one that wrote Beach Read.
Okay, and I never read that. But you liked that a lot, yeah?
I loved it.
Yeah.
I think I would describe her as the romance writer for non-romance readers.
Okay.
Like, I don't. Like, it's just not my genre. Like, I'm not sucked in. Like, I just don't care for the most part.
Sucked in. Nice word choice.
And I like, it has like a couple like steamy scenes, but it's certainly not like, a steam book. It's just not, it's not up there on the steam meter.
Yeah.
But like, you're reading, you like read the tension as you're reading it.
Yeah.
But both of the books, for some, and even though like neither of them obviously happened to me, like I had like such a connection with them, both of the main characters who are very different.
That's great.
And like it was, I don't know what it was, but I was like,
and honestly, it's the power of you find a writer that like somehow speaks to, like that's I think the power of the author in a lot of ways.
Right. Right. Yeah. So, I mean, by far, those two books are like my favorite romance books I've ever read.
Great. I love this.
Yeah. And I like downed it. It doesn't come out till May, but I had it on.
No, it strikes me as, I think, so you read Beach Read last, see, I would read that kind of book literally on vacation.
Yeah. They're perfect vacation
Like, when
books.
have I been on vacation? Tell me.
Right.
Tell me that.
But like if you're looking for a vacation book, both of them
are incredible. But I think that
incredible.
I've kind of been saving them in the back of my head because, I mean, I also need like light. Like, I just need that sometimes. You need like a little.
And I haven't read a light book in a super long time, and it was great. It was so good. It was so well written, and it was
good for the psyche.
It was not a dual perspective. It was all the main character, the girl's perspective, but it was flashbacks. So from present day to previous summers. The basis of the book is her and her best friend from college. She met him freshman year at orientation. They're like extremely different people, but he was a teacher and she's a travel blogger. And so every summer they took a trip together because he had time during the summer. And it's like literally over the course of like 10 or 12 years, like they go back and
I love those. I love that.
Talk about the different trips that they took in the summer and then flashback to the present, like where they're taking their most recent trip. And like it goes back and forth through that. So and it's so good.
Yay. I love that. Yeah. I love getting out of a reading slump. Anything, whatever it takes.
Right. It was great. So that's where I'm at. And we are just fucking crushing Love Island UK. Crushing it. We are almost done with season 2.
Which, okay, for people, Jamie already said this. If you have not listened to previous episodes, you're probably not listening to this one. But literally, there are 50 episodes per season. So when she says she is halfway through season 2, she has watched.
No, I'm almost done with season 2.
So she has watched almost 100 hours of television.
The only ones that we've skipped is there's like every 5 or 6 episodes, there's a recap episode. Right. So like obviously we don't watch those because we're watching every other episode.
Triple digits hours of television.
Oh,
so
yeah.
It is impressive. No, I love it. Is just Love Island.
Like it is like whenever Ben and I are in the living room kitchen area, it is just
background.
On.
Yeah. Background.
It's perfect.
It's like having the news on, but it's fucking way better than the news.
It's so great. And I don't even know if you remember any of the people, but so like in the first season, I was convinced that Hannah and John, who were like, Hannah was like the Marilyn Monroe looking, who like got engaged on the show. I do remember them, yeah. I was like, how is it possible that they don't win? Like, I mean, this is so old. I don't care if I'm spoiling it for you. Right. But I was like, how is it possible that they don't win? Right. So now we have a couple episodes left. So like we have like the 4 couples that are in the finals. And right now I'm like, I don't know if you remember these couples, but I was like, how is it possible that Nathan and Cara don't win? And I don't know if they I don't know if they do or not, but like that's my thought. But then like John and Hannah didn't win. So now I'm like, I don't know what's going to happen.
Fucking know. I can't remember who won season 2. But
I
remember
spoiled it for myself a while ago, and now I don't remember who it was.
So good. So don't spoil it for yourself. It's so good. It's so entertaining.
Well, I didn't mean to. I was like trying to figure out who's still together and who's not.
Fuck the internet. It's so fun.
Right, but it's impossible to look that shit up without seeing other things. So
you literally can't be a human. Like it's.
So I have to wait until the season's over to like see who like dated afterwards and like who, if anyone is still together. But Ben was like, yeah, you can watch it without me. Like you can just like keep me up. But like at this point, like he wants to know, like he wants to watch the finale and like see who wins. Right. So I can't watch it without him.
I mean, some of the episodes in between are like, okay, you're not missing anything dramatic.
Right. Yeah. So that's where I'm at.
That's so fun.
But what are you reading and watching?
So I just, so I finished Minor Feelings recently.
And you really liked it, right?
I really, really liked it a lot. I really, really, really liked it, actually.
Would I like it?
Yeah, I think so. I want to say it's like a memoir, but like also she just writes these incredible essays. And it's Kathy Park Hong. She's, I believe, Korean American, because Park is a Korean last name, and Hong, she must have married into the Chinese. But anyway, I think what's been so fascinating to me about all of the anti-Asian racist stuff that's been circulating is I didn't fully grasp like the differences in oppression of an Asian American versus a Black American. Like I didn't, it's not like I was living my life thinking they lived the same life, but I just wasn't thinking about it at all. all. So I appreciate it. And I've heard a lot of criticism from Black people and Asia, like vice versa, of like how they need to be kind of united against racism, period. Versus like Asian racism versus Black racism and like the intersectionality of all that. And I'm not articulating myself well, but I think I appreciated that she, in her book and some of her essays, she does talk about like the Black experience and like how the two are different. And so I really liked it. She writes poetry, like that's how she started. So okay. So it's incredibly well written, but she's also really, really funny. Like, I don't know. I liked her a lot. It's a really, really good book.
I will add it to my list.
Yeah, and I finished that gut book that I was talking about last time.
Oh, did you like it?
A little bit. I really liked it. I think it's a really great, obviously some of the subject matter for me now is like more basic right. Because I'm obviously in school for this, but I feel like for anyone who's just like the average Joe just wanting to understand the gut, it's a great book. And I actually have the cover now. I can show you guys so you can get the right one.
Ooh.
Julia Enders. Yeah, it's great. It's funny. And you will appreciate it.
Okay.
Anyway, but then I also, I'm doing myself a little bit of a break favor. And in my stack, I had a Jodi Picoult book.
I used to love Jodi Picoult.
I haven't read it. Can't even remember the last book of hers I read. But I was like, same as you. I was looking at my stack. I was like, what is light? Like, what is going to like make me feel like I'm like just not thinking too much because I just have so much going on. So the Book of Two Ways.
Which is about what?
I've read all of 15 pages, maybe 30, but it seems like it is this woman's, she must be in her, like, I think the early to mid 30s. And she is a, death doula.
So basically like assisted suicide.
We don't get to, that's what I'm assuming, but she hasn't like really confirmed or denied. The book starts, and this was a little weird for me and I don't love it. A trigger warning for airplane crashes. It starts and she's like on an airplane, and the irony of her being a death doula and then like being unprepared for her own potential death. So she survives a plane crash with like 30, 40 other people or something. And then everyone else in the plane fucking crash dies, whatever. And she's
the only one that lives.
She, one of 36 that survives. And so she like walks out and has a partner. It's unclear if it's like a marriage yet, but like has a partner. And instead of going home, like immediately to her partner after her near-death experience, she like goes back to, she had spent time in Egypt because I guess she studied like ancient Egypt. And it's clear there's like a history with like a man there. And so it seems like it's like one of those books where it's like near-death experience, like lived your best life. Like, well, how do you like go back in time?
Leaves her partner?
I don't know yet. So she doesn't go home after the crash. She goes to Egypt.
Oh, just like Jesus
and
Christ.
The last section I read was like, it had decades ago. It was like in her graduate program. Like so maybe she must be late 30s, early 40s, but like a decade ago, she comes back to the house where like she went to Yale for this like Egyptology or whatever. So she goes back to the house where she stayed when she was doing all of her research there. And the caretaker of the house is not the caretaker that was there when she was there, but the son. But they like looked the same. It's like one of those where it's like, I remembered you when you were little because like I was anyway. So we'll see. I mean, it's like again, it's kind of a light. I mean, not so light.
Not light, but like
but like a little bit more of like a fly through
thriller-ish.
Like I don't have to think a ton.
No, for sure.
So I'm doing that. But then in terms of we can talk about Temptation Island. But also I watched Seaspiracy, which
I mean,
I'm laughing.
We've already talked about this.
Which I'm laughing because my first fucking reaction before seeing the memes was I was like, Alex, why did they leave that on the table? Conspiracy. Like what?
The lowest hanging fruit.
You don't have to try to make con a C. You can just use it and just respell C.
Are you shitting me?
Yeah.
I can't.
Anyway.
I can't. So I don't even know what it's about. I've seen it. Like I've seen it on my Netflix.
So my first thing that I have to say is this guy started, and I don't know how long it took him to do this, but he started this documentary when he was 22.
How old is he now?
I don't know. But what was I doing when I was 22?
Not that.
Not doing anything fucking good for the world. So I believe, so it's this 22-year-old. He's I guess his whole life been really fascinated. He's British, but been really fascinated with the ocean. So graduates from college and decides he wants to, I don't even honestly recall the purpose of the initial documentary, but he starts kind of trying to understand sharks. And it quickly spirals into like, okay, why are sharks being hunted and killed? And what is that doing to our climate? Because sharks actually, like the amoebas,
are a big part of the ecosystem.
Right. And like there's something about what they produce that helps carbon capture actually in the oceans. And so it's like,
oh, interesting.
So, but then it goes into sharks, and then it goes, okay, why are dolphins being killed? Okay. Then why are so it basically becomes this like, and he doesn't even know. So you kind of follow him in this journey of like, okay, I started out doing
discovering
one
things,
and now I'm like becoming a whistleblower for like the commercial fishing industry. And he literally, it is to the point where, you know, when they like on like crime shows or like Gang, did you ever watch Gangland, where they like black out the person so you can't see them and
that's what is happening.
Their voice? These people who are like basically in and of themselves whistleblowing without being identified. They're like, if you don't want to die, you should stop trying to dig into this. Like, So I was crying.
This is about the shark killing industry.
It just becomes about, honestly, like commercial fishing, period.
Okay.
That's what it turns into, but it starts out, that's how he kind of, and then it spirals, and then it's whales, and then it's, so all these things. And so I was crying and subtly nauseous the entire time I was watching it. And Alex was like, you don't want to see this. Like, there is gore. Like, they show the killing of dolphins.
Oh, and nope.
I just closed my eyes, but I screamed at Alex. I was like, ignorance isn't cute. I need to know what the fuck's going on. Because also now I have this lens of, with my health stuff, I have this lens of understanding like how we raise our animals and how we grow our food and how all of these things like impact globally the environment. Because all these things are impacted by it. So I was like, I need to fucking understand. And boy, do I fucking understand.
Oh my God.
And
so you're saying I should watch it, even though I'm going to hate it.
I think everyone should watch it. You go in knowing, like, watch it with Ben and have him tell you when it's, like, you'll be able to tell when it's getting a little gory. I can't say I am glad I saw but I'm glad I saw those scenes, right? Like, you need to, it's not, and I'm not now.
Why is anyone killing a dolphin?
You just wait. I don't want to ruin it for you. Okay. It's pretty wild.
Is it justified?
No.
Oh, okay.
It makes me so mad at westernization and Alex and I kind of talked about this, capitalism to an extent, because we're unable to live in harmony with anything. Like as humans, we think we can just conquer and have that be okay. Yep. And there's no reason, and except for the fact that humans want what they want, and these industries are trying to give that to them and make money. Yep. So that's the basis of everything, right? But I don't know when I will have fish again. I don't know the answer.
Oh shit.
It kind of was one of those things where it's like, people tell you single-use plastic, like don't, like this was one of those documentaries where it was like, fuck if that matters that you used a plastic straw. Right. Like the gaslighting and the secrecy, like there were times when I don't even know how this man like got a video camera into some of these interviews with these people that like he interviews, like where literally he was interviewing one woman and he was like he was in a nice way, but like pushing her and asking her a lot of hard questions, and in a roundabout way getting her to say like, yeah, if I had to like tell people one thing to like help the ocean, it would be to stop eating fish. Like he was trying to get her to say that. And she basically kind of did. And he was like, well, why is it that not on your website, that message? And she was like, you'd have to talk to the CEO. He goes to talk to the CEO. And the woman is like, turn off the cameras. You can't record this. And then but he still has audio. It's like the things that people like, I can't say anymore at risk of like, totally ruining it for you. But I
will be investigating.
Very fascinating. And I'm not trying to like tell everyone they need to like not eat fish, because there's the side of me that's like, this is like if we eat the way our ancestors ate, or hunter, like they ate fish, right?
Right.
It's not the animal that's the problem at all.
No, it's the methods.
It's the methods. And catching what you, I don't.
Nope.
Anyway.
Okay.
So
I will be investigating.
That. Yeah.
But this wouldn't be our new podcast if we didn't talk about Temptation Island.
There's honestly nothing that dramatic happened to this episode.
No.
But
although Tom now realizes that Chelsea is cheating on him.
Here's the thing. I told Alex, I was like, oh my God. Well, and I don't even know like what they agreed to. Like she didn't have sex with him.
I don't know what they agreed to, but also like Ben was like, oh, well, like she cheated first. And I was like, I guess.
Same. I'm like, I guess, but like he was up. Like he was started to cry when he saw her hug another guy. This was like.
Right. And right. And
then he was like freaking out. He's like, oh, she's cheating on me because she hugged. And he's literally rubbing asses and getting kissed. And like, what?
Right. He's like, but I'm not like, no.
I can't. I have zero patience for this human. I literally like to Alex.
And then Ben was like, yeah, she cheated first. And I was like, I don't know. No, I don't like.
Alex did not have room to have any opinion on him because I just like was shitting on him. I was like, no. I was like, you know why? I was like, okay, it is sad that he's crying. But you know why it's sad? Because he's just that dumb. He just doesn't get it. He literally is that stupid. And I feel bad for people that are that dumb. Like, I'm sorry.
Yeah. Also, Aaron got a little defensive about Corey.
Yeah. Which I think that guy was right.
Right, for sure.
For
sure. But now she's like afraid. Now she's like, has decided
because I think she has so many
emotional.
Yeah, I think she has so much emotional baggage that she hasn't dealt with that she's afraid of starting over with someone versus losing him. That's my 100%. Perspective.
Yep.
And I don't know how it's going to end up. Like
I don't
for
either.
Corey, I don't really want that for him at all. I think they'll leave separately. I think he'll decide. I don't know though. I don't know how that's going to end up.
I don't know either. Oh my God. Kendall is like the world's worst human. I can't. Like the black, I don't know her name, but the black girl that was like sitting with him and like had redone his hair and like basically been like talking to him, not dating him because Alexis is the one that's been with him. But she's like, calling him out on his shit and was like, you're telling me that if you saw your girlfriend having a threesome at one of the bonfires, you wouldn't care. And he's like, wouldn't happen.
Which is the dick.
I can't understand.
It wouldn't happen because she's so loyal to me and like
right. And she was like,
me, what if fuck with her?
What if she found someone that like gave her something that you didn't?
She
was
can't.
Like impossible. Right. Like fuck all the way.
I fucking hate him so fucking much. Alex was like, no, he's great. And I was like, you're just saying that because he's great for fucking TV. And he was like, exactly. He's great fucking television. And I was like,
Ben looked him up and he like has his own Ben was like, oh, he definitely thinks he's an entrepreneur. And that's exactly what his Instagram bio says. And he has his own website where he has like an ebook. And I don't even totally know what his shtick is.
How to be great or how to be your best. Like, he's so stupid. Like, I don't want, like, you were the worst human being. My biggest annoyance, it's just like so eye-rolly. Like, at this point, I almost wanted Erica. By the way, I was proud of her for not sending
leaving a message.
I was like, fuck yeah, bitch. But I almost wanted her to be like, you don't even need to show me. I don't give a fuck what he's doing. Like, don't even show me at the bonfire the videos. Although,
what does it matter at this point? She's already seen her.
She's just laughing. She's just like, okay, like I don't.
Right. It makes no difference.
But the fact that he is like desperately wants to be in a throuple is
right. And Alexis is like, yo, I'm not here for this.
And he's like, but I might have a connection with this other girl. I'm like, oh my God.
No, you don't. Like, what's happening?
Or just
also the fact that Alexis thinks that they might date when they get out is comical. Like, she thinks that they like might date when they get out.
I don't know how when she's having these conversations with him and he's like, yeah, like if Erica, like, I don't know if he's actually said that to her outright, but the conversations where he's like, yeah, if it doesn't end up with Erica, like if it doesn't work out, as though he thinks that the way this works,
might. Right?
That he thinks that like he doesn't. That they talk about it and then come to a decision. No. Right. You come to that final bonfire and you have your decision. You're not like feeling it out. Like he's basically trying to like leave her on the back burner as like the next option. But like, 100%. And how is she listening to that and is like, yeah, this is a great idea sounds right. for me. Yeah, this is a great idea. Alexis.
I'm feeling better about Julian and Kristen though.
So I just love Julian. I just love Julian.
Caitlin.
Yeah.
I know you do. I'm like, he's growing on me a little bit.
No, I think that they're going to have a bonfire moment and they're going to like have the most
11 years is a fucking long time.
Yeah, they're going to have adult conversation. They're finally like, I feel like this is like what it should do for couples like that. Like they're independently realizing what they didn't bring to the relationship or like what they hid and didn't talk about and like put the rug over and, swept under the rug. What is the fucking saying?
Like Erica doesn't like need to be with a guy on, I just like hope she has fun for like the last week that she's
I hope she'll leave alone. She'll leave alone for sure though.
Yeah. But like the fact that I cannot wait to see her just like tear Kendall to shreds.
I just want her to just sit there and like laugh in his face.
Right.
Like, are you psycho?
But also I don't think he gives a fuck. Like he truly just like seems to not care.
I think he cares more than he lets on. Like, and I think
so you think when she's
felt that way,
Deuce is at the bonfire, you think he's going to care?
He's going to act like he doesn't care. We're not going to really know, but I think he does. Like when he sees her at the bonfire hugging that guy and telling him that like she, really cares about him or whatever, like he had a reaction. He's like, yeah, of course no one likes their girlfriend.
Yeah, I guess that's true.
He had a little more of a reaction than he normally
does.
Like,
and she was only holding his hand. So like.
He didn't even see that part. He saw the like, loving, put my head on your shoulder. Anyway.
He's the fucking worst.
But now I'm getting to the point where this episode wasn't super exciting. So I'm like, okay, let's wrap this shit up. I just want to know what happens.
How many more episodes can there? There's only probably a couple.
I think it's only a couple. It has to be, right?
Right.
I don't know.
I mean, the other seasons were only like 10 episodes, I think, or 12 episodes.
But I'm ready. I'm ready to know because I'm just like dying.
Yeah. And I actually think I liked some of the other seasons better. Like, I think this one was like a little meh.
It was like good in the beginning, and now this episode was the one I was way not enthused about.
Well, red pill for the next episode. I need to read it. I still haven't taken it off my bookshelf, so I gotta get cracking.
Okay. All right,
guys.
Thanks, guys.
Thanks for another 2.5 hour recording. Hopefully we get this one under 2 hours.
Jeez Louise.
I can't. All right. Until next time.
Try saying that out loud. Bye.
Bye.